Run Your Story family. This is Allison Gaillard with Run Your Story, where every story needs to be heard. And are you guys in for an amazing treat? I got to sit down and hear Aaron Freesmeier, or AKA DJ Freeze, and his run story. Absolutely phenomenal. We talk about his story and the impact that a magazine and someone had on his life to be able to run, and look at him now. And just what prompted him to enter a running store and to ask questions about shoes. And we also talk about the history of Run and Try and how that came about. And also, it is so cool to be able to sit down with someone who believes in your podcast, is helping power up that podcast for the month, but also gives back so much to our running community, from hosting events to helping people raise funds for things that they believe in. It's just absolutely extraordinary. And so Aaron is such a pillar in our running community. Cannot say enough great things about him and his staff and what they do. And so it was truly an honor to be able to sit down with Aaron and to share his story. He brings such great insight, and one of the things he says that just really got me is to go outside your limits. And oh man, that was absolutely amazing. So cannot wait for you guys to hear his story. It's so impactful, and again, just so grateful for Aaron and his store and his staff and what he does for our community. Just absolutely incredible, and the impact others have had on him to create things like Holla at the Dollar, and just such an incredible guy. And incredible love and appreciation for our community. And so grateful to know you, my friend, and so grateful for your run story, Aaron. Thank you so much. And so also, guys, he sponsored this month's podcast. And so I'm truly grateful that he believes in Run Your Story so much that he was like, I've got this. And so truly appreciate what he does. He's constantly pouring into Run Your Story, and he believes in us, and Dave, our blogger, and just all the things with Run Your Story. And so I truly appreciate him and his love for Run Your Story. It's amazing. It's amazing to have that. Again, the community here is absolutely incredible, and Aaron, again, is such a pillar, and I appreciate him so much. And guys, go check out Run and Try. As Aaron also shares in the podcast, he wants you to leave with the right pair of shoes. And he wants to make sure that you're sized correctly, that what activity you're doing is adequate to what shoe you're going to be in, and how much time you have training. That was all such great advice that he gives. So not only are you guys getting a run story, but you're getting the owner of Run and Try and his perspective on when you go in to buy shoes. You're not just buying shoes. You're buying shoes that are going to help you cross the finish line, or help you on the court, or help you in the gym or at work. And so he wants to make sure that you get what you need. And that was so cool to hear. Like, just appreciated that so much. Again, about Aaron and his staff and what they go through training wise to make sure that you come in as a customer and you leave not only informed, but part of the Run and Try family. So kudos to Aaron, kudos to Run and Try, and thank you guys so much for believing in this podcast. Go check them out. They're on social media. They're amazing here in Mobile. Walk in and be like, hey man, thanks for supporting the podcast, and they'll fit me for some shoes. So I shop there. I support Aaron and Run and Try, and just so grateful for him. Again, his belief in his running community, his belief in Run Your Story, and his belief that, guys, we can go and we can do anything with the right pair of shoes. I love that. It was so cool. So, all right, guys, get ready, get set, and go run your story with my friend Aaron and Run and Try. Finally. Yes.
We made it happen, even though I'm a little late. But
that's okay. Super excited. One, I want to say thank you so much for all you do for this community. So many people love and appreciate you, and you're constantly giving back to this community and helping people with fundraisers, and then Holla at the Dollar, keeping us all moving, and then also believing in this podcast. So thank you, my friend.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to knock this out and talk about some good things, running and more.
Absolutely. So what is your run story?
My run story is, without getting into too much detail, I had a men's health magazine somewhere around 2004, 2005, and I remember looking at it and thinking, why do I even subscribe to Men's Health?
Really? Okay.
100%. And I had a friend, Mary Taylor is her name. She lives in Pensacola now, but she wanted to do a 5K. I thought to myself, I could do a 5K. I had not ran more than 2 miles in probably 10 years at that point. And I remember finishing that 5K thinking I could do better. I should probably sign up for something else. Went back to the Men's Health magazine And there was a race advertised in there called the Men's Health Urban Athlon. I don't think they do it anymore.
Okay.
But it was the pre-obstacle course racing, but it was on urban ground. It was in Chicago. So I remember thinking 9 miles was so far, but trained for 10 months, and that's 100% what got me into running and trying to stay consistent with just that. So had I not subscribed to Men's Health and not had a friend named Mary Taylor that wanted to run a 5K, that's it. That's what got me into it. Truth be told.
Wow.
And I was about 40 pounds heavier 15 or 16 years ago. So
That is incredible.
there was some weight loss motivation in there as well. But then it became the community of Mobile. As I started going to 5Ks, meeting people, making friends. There was definitely some motivation behind some of the early races, like from the Port City Pacers that always had fun after parties and just good people. And then there's also, you get a little hooked on chasing the bling and the medals and the t-shirts and this and that. But I will say it all also reverts back to a lot of just that community, which is probably where has put me where I am now, just with owning Run and Try and continuing to try to give back to what got me into running and ultimately what I do for a profession now.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I love that. So let's talk about what is Run and Try story. Like, how did you come about? Because we're here in the store, which is so cool to do an interview here in the store. How did this come about to be for you?
I walked into the original Run and Try, which is on the opposite side of the store we're in right now, so the other suite over.
Okay.
I walked in to check out a pair of Hokas. The owner was there. Kevin was his name. They didn't have a clue what Hoka was. Granted, this was 13 years ago.
Okay.
So Hoka was very new at the time, but I started asking some questions about shoes. We start talking back and forth. He says, you know, a lot about shoes. Like, I said, well, I'm a shoe nerd, shoe geek. I'm just getting into running. And I ended up buying a pair of inserts that day.
Okay.
And I actually ended up ordering some Hokas online, which now I'm very against the online thing. But yeah, he reached out. I want to say it was a couple days later. I can't remember if it was Facebook or text, but he was like, would you be interested in being a manager at Run and Try? I was working for State Farm Insurance at the time. Didn't dislike my job. It was a good job. It was a serving job. You're trying to help people with insurance, car insurance, life insurance, etc. They were able to get pretty close to what I was making at State Farm, and it gave me an opportunity to have, I guess, a little bit more of a set schedule, only working set hours as opposed to those extra time after work that came with working in insurance. And yeah, I took him up on the offer. I was about to have a son at the time too, so it seemed like a good balance of home and life and work. And yeah, I guess it had been 6 or 7 years after that, I ended up purchasing the store from the previous owners. And they're great guys. We still keep in touch. They just own the Mississippi store and I own the Mobile store, and we do the local thing at our own level.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That is so fun. And again, it all started back to a Men's Health magazine.
It really did.
Because why else would you have walked into a running store asking about Hokas, which weren't even here?
Yeah, and I think that was when I was delving. I think I had finished the race already in Chicago. My buddy John and I did it, and my buddy Brad Siebert, he came with us too. And I think after I reached like 10 miles and I did a half marathon and then I'd done a marathon is when I started tweaking into what the ultra world was, like wondering what's a 50K, what's a 50 miler. So Hoka was fresh on the map then and fresh on my mind because all these elite runners were using these max cushion shoes. And yeah, I just walked into a new running store and wanted to ask some questions, and
Here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
Wow.
Doing a podcast in my store.
That's incredible. That is so fun.
Yeah.
Oh, talking about like a full circle moment.
Yeah, and I can't give enough credit to the guys who hired me too, because I joke about it in the store. I've told my staff, I've told friends, it's like a lot in life, whether it's athleticism or just work or the friends you meet, the relationships you make, a lot of it's timing. And I feel like had I not chose to get in shape, lose some weight, subscribe to Men's Health, even though I didn't need Men's Health magazine at the time, and walk into a running store, I would have never met those people. I mean, I lived in this neighborhood a mile away. So I could have gone to any other store in town or in Pensacola. Or timing's a lot. Timing goes a lot into everything in life. And I feel like I was in the right place at the right time, at the right people, and a lot of good things happened from there.
Wow. Man, that's incredible. So obviously there have been some lessons that you've learned from running. What are some?
Oh, man. Lessons from running. I'd say one of the biggest lessons is consistency goes a long ways. There was a time I raised money for Men's Health I want to say it was about 6 years ago is when I first did it. I did a 3-year running streak from there. It started with running 6 miles a day for a month.
Okay.
My goal is to raise like $1,000. I think I raised like $3,000.
Wow.
And the 6 miles a day was to represent every 60 seconds a man takes his life worldwide, just due to suicidal thoughts, depression, etc. So 6 miles a day represented the 60 seconds, 6.0. I did it for 30 days and I was like, okay, I could do a few more days. And all of a sudden it was 3 years and I did the fundraiser back-to-back years. It wasn't 6 miles every day after the first 30 days, but the run streak stayed alive for 3+ years. But yeah, that taught me diligence. It taught me patience in times of knowing I needed to run but get other things done. It taught me life balance. So much people think running is physical, but it's so much mental too. So I think for me it resides a lot on the mental side of things, where if I need 30 minutes to clear my mind, it might be a workout, it might be a run, it might be a walk, it might be a run walk. Movement counts. So I try to remind people that all the time too, that someone else's pace doesn't have to be your pace, doesn't have to be your goals. They can be as small or as big as you want them to be, but you got to find the balance in between to get to that larger goal at hand. So I guess that falls in line with another thing too, is goal setting. I mean, like I said, I started with 3 miles, went to 9 miles, went to a half, went to a full, went to a marathon, went to an ultra marathon. All those at one point never seemed attainable, and now I look back at them, I can do that again. Yeah.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Man. So, I gotta know, with all this rich running history, what has been your favorite race?
Can I have 2?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can. You're Aaron. You can have as many favorite races as you want.
Well, let's do a couple.
Okay.
Some of them reside in my mind as like great memories. And first marathon for sure. I actually forgot my shoes the morning of my first marathon. I drove all the way to Birmingham at 2:30 in the morning. Got there in time. Oddly enough, I ran in a pair of Hokas. I had just started working at Run and Try. I was doing my first marathon. The Hoka rep had given me a pair of Hokas. They were in my trunk of my car. I left at 2:30 in the morning. Thought I had my bags packed. Pulled up in Birmingham. Go to put on all my clothes, get ready. Didn't have my actual running shoes. So in a pair of Hoka Bondi 2s, I ran a marathon fresh out the box. So
Fresh out the box.
If people are ever wondering whether or not you have to break in a pair of shoes, no. You can literally go a marathon in a brand new pair of shoes. So that always resides as a funny story. And yeah, to run your first marathon in a pair of shoes you never really worn before.
Sure.
So yeah, that was always a great race. I hate to hear that they did away with the Mercedes, but
Okay. I was going to ask if that was
I think
Mercedes.
last
Okay.
year or 2 years ago was the last event, but that resides well. Another one is the first relay I ever did. I did the Blue Ridge Relay with actually Victor Birch and Beau Reynolds. I had met them out at the Dollar. They were doing training out there, and I can't remember what I was actually training for at the time, but I remember Victor saying, we might have a spot on this team. You got to come out here on Sundays and run with us on these hills. And so that race resides with me because it was a great event with some guys that I still keep in touch with. It was 200-ish miles. I can't remember exactly, but it was split up. Everybody runs 30, 40 total. But yeah, just that time together, guys bonding, over running through the night, early mornings, tired, without sleep, all that stuff.
Smelling really bad.
Smelling really bad, yes. Yes, there is not enough Febreze in the world to cover up the smell of 6 guys crammed into a very tiny van. And there would be no holler at the Dollar had I not started going out to those runs on Sunday to train for that race. So a few of us always continued to go out there. It was small groups. I see pictures on Facebook that are flashbacks of 4 or 5 of us just meeting on Sundays to train. And now I see pictures every summer of 35, 40, 50 people going out to train. And there's people, and if anybody's listening to this, oftentimes people think it's some sort of intimidating group that meets out there, but it is all levels. There's kids, there's walking. This past summer was the first summer my kids came out and ran, just a mile and a half. So it's definitely proof that this community's strong and just being together, because nobody's out there doing anything but pushing each other. Nobody's trying to be better than someone else. I mean, maybe there's some people competing, but for the most part, it's a community wrapped around, and a Sunday wrapped around something we enjoy to do together. So yeah, without that relay, there would be no holler. So shout out to Victor and Beau for inviting me out to the Dollar all those years ago. And I'd say other than that, I'm not big on personal bests. I couldn't even tell you what my 5K PR is, 10K PR. I have no clue. But I do know my 50-mile PR, and that resides big in my mind that I could do hard things. So 2018, I think it was 2018, I ran an 8:20 50 miler. So basically back-to-back 4-hour and 10-minute marathons. with some water breaks and some food breaks and all that in between. So it was a beautiful day. In fact, my buddy John shared a picture just the other day on Facebook, reminded me of that. So it's fresh in my mind right now and fresh in my mind always, because that was a well-trained and well-run race. So.
Man. Oh, that is incredible. Oh, man. How special. Let's talk about what is your pre-race routine. Obviously, making sure that you have shoes.
Yeah, definitely shoes. I always put my bib. In fact, that's why I have this tattoo right here on my leg.
Get out of here.
I always put my bib on my left leg.
Okay.
So, yeah, I always fold my bib, put it on my left leg. I'm a little superstitious on that. Definitely put anti-chafe in the places it counts. And I'm big on showing up races feeling a little light. A lot of people talk about the carb loading the night before. Kenny Pfeiffer years ago shared an article that I don't even think exists on the internet anymore because I've tried to find it, about like carb loading for bigger events and longer races really should be done 3-4 days out. You should be carved up and then deplete and then come into the race feeling nothing but full, light, and ready to go. And I always do a shakeout run. So whether it's a marathon, half marathon, 5K, the day before I do try to run and move my body. And a lot of times people in store, even just friends, talk about resting the day before. And something that resides in my mind from a buddy, Ron Brooks, he said, if you can't run a couple miles a day before a marathon, you probably didn't train well for the marathon. So it's always fresh in my head to get out there and do 20 or 30 minutes of activity the day before any race to get yourself mentally prepped for the next day.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I've not heard that. That's really good.
Other than that, Pop-Tarts.
Yeah. Really? Okay.
I love Pop-Tarts.
Okay. Is there a certain flavor Pop-Tart that you're like, because you talked about being superstitious, so is there a Pop-Tart where you're like...
Strawberry is high on the list.
Okay.
And it's first out the bag, but I will take any Pop-Tart the day before and the morning of a race.
Okay. Is there a certain brand Pop-Tart?
The Pop-Tarts.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't go off-brand on Pop-Tarts. No. There's some things you can cut in life. One of them is not Pop-Tarts.
Not Pop-Tarts or shoes.
That's right. Pop-Tarts and shoes. Pop-Tarts, shoes, and socks.
That's awesome. Okay, let's talk about how you cross the finish line. You're done. What does your post-race routine look like?
Breathe. Try to get my heart rate back down. Yeah, I can't remember ever finishing a race and not being close to maxing out. So those first 90 seconds to 2 minutes is important to just walk, recover, get the heart rate down. I don't instantly go for the food afterwards or instantly go for hydration, drinking some water right after. If there's beer at the event, I'm probably going to the beer line within the first 20 minutes after some water. But
you're carb loading.
That's right. We're reloading.
We're reloading.
Yeah,
that's right.
You got to hydrate, to dehydrate, to run, to rehydrate again. So, yeah, I don't really have anything that's set in stone for post-race. I think it would vary by distance, but most of the time it's just concentrating on getting the heart rate down, maybe personally reviewing in my mind the race, uploading to Strava, of course.
Yeah.
So we got to get those kudos. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. These next 3 questions, I am so excited to ask.
Okay.
So what is the one running item that you're like, I will not run without this item?
Feature socks.
Oh, okay.
Sure. Yeah, because I have a very neutral foot, meaning I can almost run in anything. Like, too much stability doesn't really do me well. Too much cushion doesn't really do me well. But when it comes to shoes, I have my set rotation of shoes. I don't really have a preference, per se, of the shoe to run in other than when it's racing time.
Okay.
But socks for sure. Features max cushion all the way. Yeah, my feet don't handle anything else.
Really? Okay. All right. So you led us straight into the next question.
Okay.
What's your shoe rotation?
Right now, shout out to the Flat Boy gang. You guys, if you're listening, you know who you are. Ultra will always be in my rotation. So right now I've got an Ultra Escalante. I do have a pair of Brooks Hyperions right now that I use a little bit. I've recently found, and as much as everybody knows, and those who may be listening that have worn On Clouds, so much of On Clouds has been sold for fashion over the past 3 or 4 years. But the new Cloud Surfer and the new Cloud Stratus go back and forth.
Okay.
The Surfer's almost done. The Stratus is more so in rotation now. Their new stuff and the new foams they're using are making them better running shoes and not just lifestyle and fashion. So, yeah, definitely believe in their newer stuff there. I've got a pair of Hoka Cliftons. We're breaking these in right now. The max cushion doesn't do too well for me over 30 or 45 minutes, but they feel good on my feet for easy runs and some run walks, stuff like that. So I try to keep 4 shoes, whether it's a speed shoe, a lightweight trainer, a cushion trainer, and then something that goes a little bit more towards max cushion, just for easy, short recovery stuff. But I'd say Ultra would still be my top preference in terms of a daily trainer.
I like that. Race day. What is Aaron going to be wearing race day?
How cold is it? How hot is it? It's close to the same.
Shoe-wise, what do you wear? Yeah. What's your racing shoe?
I'm so big on the Saucony Endorphin Speeds. I barely use them for training, but there's a lot of hype out there in the carbon-plated shoes. One of the things about carbon shoes, though, is if you're not keeping your full cadence with a carbon shoe, the shoe's actually working against you. So,
interesting. Okay.
Higher your cadence, more consistent and better feedback you're going to get from a carbon-plated shoe. When it comes to the Saucony Speed, it has a woven nylon plate in there. So when going the distance, we'll say 10K, 10 miles, 13, marathon, the woven plate's a little bit more forgiving, so it doesn't work back against my cadence if it were to break down in the course of a race. When I compared the two personally, and everybody's experience is different, I found that the woven plate felt a little bit better even in the short stuff, and it wasn't worth for me, even as a shoe buyer, to pay the extra money for the carbon and have 2 shoes. Now, if you want to put those 2 shoes in rotation, for anybody that's listening to this, definitely the carbon works. You just need to find your sweet spot of how long can you keep your cadence high enough to use the carbon. So yeah, I should maybe have 2 shoes, but I just have 1.
As we sit in the shoe store. Yeah. That's hilarious. All right. What is your running fuel for longer distances?
When it comes to gels, I have a pretty strong stomach. I feel like anything on that rack over there I could use. Sometimes it's flavor. Sometimes it's with or without caffeine. I do prefer in longer distance races caffeinated stuff or higher electrolyte with caffeine type stuff towards the end of a race. And even sitting here right now, I just had a Red Bull like 20 minutes ago. I love caffeine. I probably drink 2 caffeinated drinks a day. I try to stick to 1, but like anything, you build up a tolerance. So if your caffeine tolerance is too high and you're constantly using caffeinated gels, what's it really doing for you? So if it is a longer distance event, and we'll say half marathon or more, I do try to cut out caffeine 4, 5, 6 days leading into the event. So when you use caffeine, you actually get it for what it's worth, because it is a stimulant. It's good to fight against basically pain. It's good for your mental clarity in races. So I like the caffeinated stuff in long distance events after tapering off caffeine, but I don't have a set preference. Goo's great. Everybody knows Goo. They come up with some great flavors every year. E-Gel here in the stores, our #1 seller.
Okay.
More calories. You can use it less. It's very, very clean carbs. It's very clean sugar. It's not as well known because it's just not the name brand that we see at every event. I like UCAN as well when it comes to the marathon or ultra distance. UCAN's a great product that was designed by a doctor who's, hopefully I don't misspeak this or misquote this, but his son was so hypoglycemic that he couldn't sleep 6 or 7 hours without having to wake up and take his insulin.
Wow.
So him and another doctor came up with a starch that his son could drink before going to bed that would allow him to keep his insulin levels on par. Put that into running terms, and I think it started in hockey and football before it ever came to the running world. Whereas you drink UCAN, you get 90 minutes to 2 full hours of basically burning your body's fat as fuel. Not like a thermogenic, not like a pre-workout or any of that stuff, GNC. It's literally pulling what your body has stored to use it as energy. And then at the 90 minute to 2 hour mark, you either refuel on more UCAN or you bring in stuff like the sugars, the other starches, the electrolytes, and then when your body's pumping and working in full motion, it starts to burn it accordingly, which is pretty cool. One of the best quotes I heard from Meb Klofesky, I went to a speech over in, I think it was in Fairhope, I can't remember the bookstore name at the moment, Page and Palette. They had a talk with Meb Klofesky, and he talked about using UCAN, and basically he is 2% body fat when he won. He was 2% body fat when he won the Boston Marathon, and he was still saying he was sitting on around 2,000 plus calories of storage that could be burned fat as fuel, and that's why he uses UCAN. So you take average people like us, we're probably sitting on 2,500, 3,000. You never know how many, unless you got a doctor's help. we're sitting on a lot of just personal strength and fuel in our own bodies that don't necessarily need all the sugars that we shove into our system while trying to run. So yeah, love gels. They work. They just have to be used properly.
Oh, yeah. And that's a great thing for people when they come in, especially if they're new to running, walking, anything like that, to come in and to talk to somebody specifically to get as much advice as they can, because it's one of those things, Dr. Google will only get you so far.
Yes.
So it's great to be able to come in and to have that knowledge and to say this is what would work and not work. And obviously going out and trying it before race day as well and saying this is what your body tolerates and doesn't tolerate.
Oh, I've talked people out of buying nutrition. They come in, they're like, I'm running a half tomorrow. I want to get some goo. I'm like, I don't know if that's a good idea. You can? They're like, my friend says I need it. I'm like, your friend should have told you 6 weeks ago at least.
Wow. That's interesting. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, our bodies, again, not talking down to nutrition in general, it serves a purpose. It can be used, but food alone and the combination of gels, you just have to find that sweet spot. I always tell people to come in, like, budget $15, buy one of each. See if you like the taste, the consistency, because people have texture issues or consistency issues. We've all heard of the person who basically takes a gel and then they have to go to the bathroom. Yeah. So thankfully I've never been in that boat, but yeah, it happens. Train early with it, train as often as needed with it, and get your body used to using it, because it's fuel. It's just that. So.
Yeah. That's really good advice. Do you listen to music when you run?
I was anti-selling headphones until 6 or 7 years ago when discovered shocks. Now I listen to some podcasts and music, not all the time.
Okay.
It kind of just depends on the run. But yeah, I was never big on just the whole, like, I'd run through Cottage Hill Park and you come up behind people and they have headphones in, and I'm like, hey, on your left, nobody moves.
Yeah.
And then you would see it, I remember early on getting into racing, you'd see in the fine print, like, no headphones during events, and I'd get out there and you see everybody's wearing headphones. You're like, okay, do you not follow the rules? Or like, what's going on here? Who's in charge of this? But yeah, no, I enjoy music. I'm big on playlists. For those that know me personally, in a much younger version of me, I was a DJ, had a DJ business.
What?
So music is big in my life.
What? Hashtag fun fact.
Yeah, there was a previous me who spent a lot of late nights DJing in bars, special events. I just had one rule when it came to my DJ business.
Okay.
No weddings.
No. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not ruining anybody's special day.
Oh, okay. So what is your playlist, DJ Aaron? Yeah, what is your playlist?
We pull one up right now. I mean, let's see. Have you seen where Spotify does the day list now?
Oh, yes.
Let's see what Spotify says I need to listen to today.
I do pay for their premium.
It's worth
on
that.
purpose.
It's worth that
Yeah,
$10. Let's see what today list. Day list. Today is deep, chilled, tropical house morning, with our first song being Island in the Sun. But I listen to everything.
Okay.
Even yesterday I played golf with a buddy of mine, Tim. We were listening to 90s country throwback. And
Stop it.
Yeah, my array and knowledge of music is very random. It could be trap music in the morning. It could be country by night. It could be electronic at the middle of the afternoon or the shower. This Atrix machine gets a lot of playtime on on the Spotify.
That is awesome. I feel like there should be a new shirt in here that says I was fitted by hashtag DJ Aaron.
It was DJ Freeze back in the day.
DJ Freeze.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
I mean,
we had Ice Cube stickers. It was great.
Stop. I feel like you should bring that back.
Just hand them out at events.
It should be like on a shoe or something. Like, I don't know. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Okay, gotta know, what is your favorite recovery tool item?
Oh, favorite recovery tool item. Yes. The Pro Stretch.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I got a calf injury so bad. Again, my years are always off because it's been a long time of running. But I got a really bad calf injury one year running the Mobile half marathon. And it was from the slant on the road.
Oh, yeah.
Towards the final, like 2 or 3 miles that are coming down Government. Well, I developed a blister underneath my foot, so subconsciously I was trying to hold the outside of my foot to stay off the blister while finishing the race. Ultimately, it just damaged this upper part of my calf right here, right above the soleus muscle. I had a demo of this in my closet, and it had been there for a year plus. I'd never used it. And this is still it. I brought it up to the store. I started standing on it, started realizing this is working. This is helping heal my calf. So yeah, the next day after a hard race or a hard run, this thing stays in the store. I have one at home too. I just stand on it while talking to customers. I tell people if you use it brushing your teeth morning and night, you get a lot of leg relief, even if you don't realize you need the relief in your foot, your calf, your hamstrings. It can literally be used all the way up through the piriformis in the leg. So it's a full lower body stretch, which is nice. Other than that, the foam rollers, it's the OG of stretching, massaging the muscles. You just got to get down there and use it, and not everybody wants to do that.
That's fair. Yeah. Let's talk about your favorite cross-training activity.
Rowing, for sure. Yeah, the strongest I had ever been in terms of running and performance 3 or 4 years ago was a total combination of running and rowing and lifting. What I found with rowing being a full body movement, using your legs, your core, your arms, your back, your trap, you're literally using your full body on it. That when I'd row for an hour, I found it almost the same as doing like a 4-ish mile run in terms of endurance. So you got to tack on a little bit more time, just like people will convert the bike to training or cross training for running. Got to tack on a little bit more time, but I felt I was getting more full body out of it rather than riding a bike or a stationary bike. And yeah, the combination together of those 30, 40, 50-ish mile weeks, depending on how long of an event I was training for, plus that 3+ hours a week on the rower, it just clicked. It really made sense that this was like a full circle of training that was doing really well for performance. So yeah, definitely rowing and lifting, but rowing a little bit more if I'm catering towards the running.
Okay. Oh, that's so awesome. I love a good row too. Yeah. Like a good row workout, you get down and you're like, wow, that was good.
In fact, last year I challenged myself to row a marathon, which I did in 3 hours. I'd have to look back. I want to say it was right around 3 hours and 11 minutes.
I'm sorry, you said row a marathon. So you rowed 26.2 miles.
That's right. 0.2367 or whatever the exact distance is.
Oh my heavens. How did you feel after that?
Hungry.
Like you ran a marathon? Yeah. I rode a marathon. Yeah.
There was a lot of sweat on the ground.
What? Okay.
So when I stopped the run streak, because I guess last year would have been the stop, or 2 years ago would have been the stoppage of the run streak. 2 years ago, I still did it again. I just did it in the month of November for Movember. And then last year, I wanted to do something that was for Movember. So I rode the marathon, which, yeah, it was fun.
Wow.
I say fun because there's something off here.
Okay. So I'm thinking about how I've recently got back into rowing, and I'm like, I've been adding like 5-minute increments. Yeah. And so now I'm like 45 minutes in. That was great. I was like, I did a great workout, and I'm just trying to mentally go, I don't know that I would have been like.
Well, the Concept 2 rowers have, if anybody gets into it, if you're going top of the line, the Concept 2 rower is definitely where it's at.
Yeah.
They have a free app called the ERG app or the ERG app. You can link it in to a Concept account, which is free. You can compete against people nationwide by age, by distance, by weight, by height, everything.
Wow.
There's a whole world of rowing that is competitive, and in my mind, transferred very easily in how I think about running.
Sure.
To also compete in that type of stuff. So I think the company was called Dark Horse Rowing, but they do a yearly event. I did it 2 years ago where you get a workout every week for 4 weeks, and then it ranks you nationally. So while running's outside and you got to compete against everybody on foot right there in the moment, this is inside, and you compete against people nationwide. But it's fun. If you got a competitive spirit, there's a whole little niche out there of fun rowing distances and events. Yeah.
And why not do a marathon? Because why not? Okay. You talked about a favorite race and memory. Let's talk about a worst race. Is there a race that, looking back, you're like, yeah, I don't think I'd go back and do that?
I took too much sodium in a 50-miler once that resulted in me getting semi-lost and delusional during the race. I came out of it. It took a solid hour or so, but my hands started swelling. I couldn't pee. I was retaining too much water. I was retaining too much sodium. It was really hot. Started getting dizzy. Finished the race. But yeah, I guess I think about that often, especially when selling nutrition or talking to people about the importance of training. I didn't think anything went wrong in training other than I thought I had to get ahead of the game on sodium because the heat was coming, and I just took too much.
Wow.
Yeah. You have too much salt in the system. Basically, you bloat up and you feel really crummy for X amount of time until you sip enough water and finally start to pee, and the body starts to flush things out and protect.
Yeah. Wow.
Other than that, no, that was a pretty bad experience. I did drop out of 150 miler down to a 50K, but that was a personal choice for just that health reasons. I wasn't having it that day, wasn't going well, so.
And yet you still did a 50K.
Yeah.
I was like, you're like,
well,
yeah,
that was the only option. I was already out there. I had to get home.
Oh, wow. I'm trying to remember who I'm talking to. Yeah, I had to drop down from 50 miler and 50K.
I'm glad the option was there, because I think about that all the time when I've finished 50 milers, that people, and I have customers who have done 100 milers, 100Ks. Mm-hmm. I've never been over the 50 distance, but I look at them, just like some people probably think about things I've done. It's like all that stuff's attainable. We all look like average people. You just never know. Like,
yeah,
some of these guys and women too that have came through the store and told me their 100-mile stories. I'm like, dang, like, you're a beast.
Yeah.
Like, it takes some serious dedication, time, commitment, all that. And they burn through some shoes. We're talking 4 or 5 pairs of shoes in a training cycle just to log all those miles. But I've thought about that sitting down after 50 miles. I'm like, who in the world, in the right mind, will get back up and do this for 50 more miles? We're talking 10 or 12 more hours of movement. Like,
that's fantastic. Yeah. So let's say that somebody comes in the store and they say, hey, I want to start running, walking. Yeah. What is some advice that you give them?
Take your time. Most of the injuries that I see from people, or even times when people come back and want to feel as if the shoe is what has hurt them, a simple questionnaire usually identifies that. Maybe not so much the shoe, but how you approach training. Give yourself 20 weeks to train for a marathon. Give yourself 15 weeks or more to train for a half if it's your first. Give yourself more than 20 weeks if you're going for a personal best in a marathon. I mean, a training cycle can be broken up into blocks of 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. But oftentimes at 15, 20, 22, 25 weeks of total movement and sticking to the plan will get you there in a much safer way, even if it's not your best race, than trying to rush things. I'm going to sell the shoe because the person's here asking for my advice, but the amount of times I've heard people say, I'm here to get fit, I'm running my first half marathon, and my first question is, how much time we got? Because that goes into what type of shoe I'm going to sell you.
Oh, okay.
And they tell me, it's in 3 weeks. And I'm like, well, how's training been going? And they're like, well, I've been running. And I'm like, okay, what have you been running in? They're like, well, that's why I'm here to get shoes. I'm like, okay. And I try to politely put it into the sales pitch of, hey, like, you're getting a pair of shoes that's going to help. It's going to feel better. But I was like, with 3, 4, 5 weeks to go, please don't rush things. Like, just at this point, you're better off just showing up and overdoing things. But yeah, it's definitely the rushing. I always joke, running, and I love running, but running really isn't fun. But shoes can make your running experience better.
Oh, 100%. So, yeah. I agree with that statement. Yeah. Totally.
So when people ask like what I run in, I always say, well, I've got multiple shoes. It's based upon what type of experience I want to have running today. But yeah, don't rush your training at all. Give yourself the space, the grace, the time to spend time on your feet. Movement counts no matter what it is. And if you miss a day, don't force the next day. There's people, and we all have different theories on training, and I don't have the fastest marathon times, but I've always comfortably finished marathons, and I never go over 20 miles. Like, for me, what's another hour on my feet if I can break it up during the week, gaining that hour back on more comfortable runs?
Yeah.
So listen to your body. It's a powerful tool. Listen to your mind, stronger than you think too, so train it as well.
That's so good. Yeah. Oh, I love that. So good. What are your goals for running or rowing? What are your goals?
Well, I wanted to row. I hope I don't sound insane here. I wanted to row a 50 miler this past November, but I didn't. I got sick in November, and then I had a family member pass away as well, and it messed up my cycle.
Sure.
So again, listening to your body. So that's for rowing, definitely moving into this coming November. I would like to accomplish that 50-mile row. I would also this year like to accomplish at least a 50K again. It's been 4 years, I think, since my last ultra. I love the 5K distance, and I've had times where I feel fast, but I think I handle training better for the longer stuff. And there's a little bit of me too that seems like it's attainable, yet it's a large goal. So for me, I look at it like this is something that takes time. It doesn't have to be rushed. So I like hitting those, I guess, longer endeavors or longer training cycles to accomplish a big goal.
Yeah.
I could go run 3 miles right now. I go run 10 miles right now, but I know I couldn't go run 31 miles right now. So it's something I've got to train for again.
Okay.
Which I'd like to do this year.
So. Okay.
I've thrown PRs out the window. Those trying to get PRs and everything just hurts too much.
Yeah. Well, and it's like what you said, it should also be enjoyable. And I think that's the reason why we see at events, we'll be like, wow, there's so many runners here. Our running community is growing. And then the next time there's not as many. Yeah. And I think it goes back to what you were saying. People were rushing it and they didn't hit that goal. And so like, I'm done. I quit. I got injured. I'm done. And then it's like, but if they would just take time to recover or, like you said, understand their cadence or making sure that their training cycle was adequate and not rushing it, then they would find maybe not a love of running, but the community's there and the support's there and the knowledge. I'm a big believer in going and asking people these questions and saying, well, okay, well, you've done that race. Tell me about that race. Like, what did you do right? What worked? Like, is it a flat course, a hilly course? What do I need to work on? And that's what we're here for as a community, is to help each other. Yeah. And as you said, like, I think it was great that you hit on that as far as like when we're out together. Yeah, there may be a couple of people that are competing against each other, but most of the time it's all of us just, hey, I want to be better than I was yesterday. Yeah. And I want to accomplish this. So I love that perspective.
Oh, absolutely.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about when you want to give up and you're like, I'm done. What's a mantra that you tell yourself to keep going?
A lot of times it's I've been here before. Or you can do hard things, I can do hard things, we can do hard things type things. How many times have you passed somebody in a race and you hear them just mumble, hey, nice job, or like, nice work, you know? Sometimes I know I say it, and sometimes that's an internal monologue of me giving it back to someone because I'm also telling myself in my head at the same time, like, I've got this, I'm doing the best I can right now. And we just talked about it a second ago too, training the mind. I think a lot of times the quitting happens because it hurts. And if it hurts to the point that you're going to be injured, quit, stop. Yeah. But if it hurts to the point that this just becomes a new experience, find the new level of what hurts more, but I can maintain, then treat it as that. So you have to get outside your limits, both mentally and physically, to keep growing. You can't rush that. It takes time. So a lot of it's reverting back to just a mental space I've been in before. I've been here before. This has hurt this bad before. I've done this before. I've been in this element before. I've felt this bad before. I've felt this good before. All those things play in our minds when exercising or running. So go dig into that mind. That's where it's at for getting better.
That is so good. Yeah. I'm going to use that. Get outside your limits. And I've been here before. That is so good. Yeah, wow.
It goes a long ways. There's just what did they talk about, or people talk about, looking yourself in the mirror and like giving yourself that like mental talk for the day type thing. Okay. Well, you can't look at yourself in the mirror while running, but
that's fair.
Like, give yourself reassurance. If it's going poorly, reassess where you're at and how to just make it to the finish line. But if it's going well, stay within your limits. Don't get outside the box right then, there in the moment. Stay in the present and continue with where you're at. And at some point you're going to fail, and then it just becomes a lesson for the next time that you go run, because you've been there before. So
that's amazing. So all these distances and races, what is your favorite distance, whether training or a race?
Favorite distance, I think the half's really fun.
Okay.
That is the only race I can say I actually trained to hit a PR. I've trained twice too. I remember wanting to break 130 for the first time and like really trained hard to break that 130 mark. And then I had a streak of 7 or 8 halves in a row where I was pushing to break 127, 126. So that reverts back to that mental mindset of I've been here before. Some of those races weren't going to plan, and they still finished okay. Wow. Or better than expected. Sure. Because you might start out too hot and you got to taper back, or you start out slow and you feel good, and then you try to pick that time to pick up the pace and it's not going well, so you taper back. But I do really like the half. In fact, after this year, the 50K is the goal. I just want to get another 50K under the belt just to do it, get more active on that longer distance runs. But that might be a good goal at 41 or 42 is to go back after the half.
Okay. Yeah.
It's short enough that you can enter the pain cave. It's also long enough that you feel like you really did something. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have your eye on a half to go do?
Well, I wouldn't mind doing Mobile again. I know they brought it back this year, but I do think when it comes to where we live, one of the best you can do is either the Louisiana half or the Mississippi Gulf Coast half. Now,
Two of
the
my
Mississippi
faves.
Gulf Coast half, if you can catch, I guess it would be an east wind, downwind. I mean, you're looking at a good chance at a PR because you only have to go headwind for about a mile and a half total. So that's a really good event. I like the Louisiana half also because the people come out. It's really supportive. I feel like it literally flies by because there's so many people around you.
It reminds me so much of Azalea Trail.
It does have a
Because
very
people
Azalea Trail
come
feel.
out in the community and they're cheering you on, and they love a good party in Louisiana.
That's true.
So when I did that one, I was like, I feel like I'm home in Mobile. These are like among my, this is what we run with.
Yeah.
So it was very homey feeling, and I loved that.
Yeah, I like both those events. And then I am glad Mobile's back. And talking on that, I am glad it's a loop course. People complained about that, and I'm going to say it here from personal opinion only. I think loop courses are awesome because when it comes to doing a marathon, you have no excuse for what's coming in round two. People could be like, oh, the hills got me on the backside, or the hills got me early. No, you literally know what's coming twice. So if you're going for a personal best, choose a loop course or a straight shot because there's no excuses on what you can see for the course.
Wow.
I heard some complaints out there in the loop, and I was like, no, that's awesome. It should be a loop course. It always should have been. Now, it was great even when it went through like south and stuff. But let's be real, some of those hills on the backside were not fun. Now it's coming twice. Like, literally no excuse. Exactly what's going on.
When you're not running, what are you passionate about? What do you like to do?
Golf. And my kids. I mean, let me, family first, for sure.
Sure.
Yeah. I was thinking sports related because we're talking sports here, but yes. No, love time with my kids, for sure. We try to create an experience of some sort every month, whatever it is. Love my time with them. Love watching them grow older, getting into their own things. But outside of family, it is 100% golf. I played college golf, played high school golf. At one point, at a very young 22, 23-year-old, Aaron tried to become a pro golfer, but that wasn't going anywhere.
Wow. Okay.
In fact, I have a tournament coming up in April that, running also fell hand in hand with golf. It's good for your endurance. It's good for that time outside. It gets hot here in the South. So handling 2 hours of running outdoors, transferred over really well to being outdoors for golf.
Oh, that's true.
The humidity is hurting other people. So.
Right.
And just overall strength and endurance and core strength and stuff like that falls into play with golf. It's not just what some people think, which is guys riding around in a car.
Right.
Doing man stuff on the golf course type thing. I'm very competitive with golf.
Any final words of wisdom?
Final words of wisdom. Fitness is ever evolving, so keep that in mind. Whether you're at your peak right now, or you're at your lowest point, or you're just starting, or no matter where you fall on that scale, it's ever evolving. I'm 40, moving towards 41 here in May. I've been fitter at 36, but I'm also fitter at 40, moving towards 41 than I was at 24.
Wow.
So keep that in mind as you grow older, as you age, as you continue your endeavors of whatever your goals are, whether it's running, just walking, any other sport that you may play. Yeah, it's forever evolving. So you got to keep changing with the times, both your age and your surroundings. So, yeah. And keep your mind in check. Can't reinforce that enough. The mind's a powerful thing. So,
absolutely.
Don't get down on yourself if things are going bad. Stay humble if things are going well. And good things will come from that.
I love that. And you talked about fitness ever evolving because that struck with me because pickleball is growing in our community and you carry pickleball shoes.
We do.
So, which I thank you for that because they're so hard to find. Yeah.
I might have to get a pickleball racket and see what's up. Is that what you call it, a racket or a paddle?
It's a paddle, pickleball paddle. Yeah.
All right, pickleball paddle. See, I'm learning new things here today, too.
Come on, anytime. It would be so fun. But seriously, like, I thank you because looking around, I'm like, oh, yeah, I've seen that at the gym, or yeah, I run in that. And I'm sure it is hard because fitness, like you said, is growing. People come in not just for running, but also for work shoes, because we're on our feet 8-12 hours a day, but then also for recovery. And so I appreciate that about you, that you're trying to make sure that somebody has something that makes them comfortable.
Yeah, so. Listen to your shoe fitters. I don't care if you buy shoes from me or down the street or anybody else locally on the coast, but I would assume everywhere we're trying to train our staff to be just like ourselves. We're not quote unquote professionals, but it is our profession.
Sure.
Listen to your shoe fitters. They know what they're talking about. One of the biggest things I see is people just don't wear the right size. So sizing is very important. I don't know what has structured our minds over the years to wear our shoes to the smaller foot, but often people do. And it's a lot of what causes your foot issues. So if you're going to get active and you're going to get out there, get fit for shoes, go to a professional and listen to them, because they're not trying to steer you wrong. I mean, it's our name on the line when it comes to you walking out that door. I've turned down shoe sales from people who refuse to buy the right size. And they're like, well, I'll get it elsewhere. And I say, okay, thank you for your time today. Because if they walk out the door and they're wearing the wrong size shoe or the wrong type of support, that's my name behind it. And I don't want them to put the blame back on me. I'd rather hear it from them first that, hey, I think you made a mistake. Okay, well, let's figure it out.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Dude, you're awesome. The
Thank
store's
you.
awesome.
Thanks.
Again, thank you for what you do for our community.
Absolutely.
And again, just keeping us all, whether on the pavement or on the court or in our job, just thank you, my friend.
And thank you to this community, because I can say hands down, without a doubt, I would not own a running store if I didn't get into running in the Mobile community. So it makes it easy to give back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, you're awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you. Such great advice and such a great reminder that you run the mile that you're in, but remember that you've been here before and get outside your limit. Oh, Aaron, so good. So appreciate your mindset, and so unbelievable that you literally rode a marathon and you have the goal to row more. Wow, that's just, you know what, brother, you're going outside your limit. That's amazing. I love that. That's so cool. And again, guys, I highly encourage you, as something that Aaron and I talked about, especially in nutritionals, especially as the weather's starting to warm up, go in and go talk to somebody at the running stores about nutrition and all the different things that are out there. Talk with those in the running community. Hey man, what do you use? Like, what works for you? What doesn't? And something that I tell people when it comes to, especially like running shoes, your shoes should make you happy. Like, you should look down and you should be like, man, I can't wait to run in that. Your shoes should get you excited about your journey, and go see Aaron. Go get excited about that journey, that finish line, that court, whatever you're about to do. And as we talk about, he doesn't sell just running shoes. There's also gym shoes. There are pickleball shoes. Highly recommend 10 out of 10. There are work shoes. Whatever you need, they're going to find the pair of shoes for you at Run and Try, and they're going to take time with you and make sure that you're in the right thing. They're going to listen to you. But also, something that Aaron brought up is that we need to listen to them and say, yeah, this is what you need to be in. So, such good advice. Man, so good to think about how much we do limit ourselves and to get outside our limit. And just to remember that we've been here before. It was such a great reminder. And again, Aaron, so appreciate you, my friend, and what you do for our running community. You're an outstanding human being and appreciate you so much. You have such a big heart for this community, and the spirit shows. So thank you, my friend. You are absolutely incredible. And guys, definitely go check them out. Thank them for being a Run Your Story supporter and believing in Run Your Story. This podcast would not be possible without our people that we partner with that believe in us. And so Aaron made sure that was possible for this month. And so we're truly grateful for that. Thank you so much, Aaron. Thank you to the staff of Run and Try. So appreciative of you guys and what you do. And guys, definitely go check them out. They have everything. As we talked about, they have shades, they have nutritionals, they have socks. As Aaron talked about, you need a good pair of socks. So they have it. And go in there and ask questions. That's what they want. They want you to ask questions. So definitely give them feedback. Definitely listen. They're going to do the same for you. It's just truly awesome. So thank you, Aaron, so much for sharing your story, and so excited to see what all you accomplished, my friend. You're just an extraordinary human being. So truly grateful for you and what you do for this community. Also so grateful for our Patreon supporters. They make this podcast possible. They make sure that everything's taken care of on the financial side. And guys, highly encourage you to join the Patreon community. We love our Patreon supporters. There's even an app that you get when you sign up for Patreon. That's how we communicate. So you get first dibs to know who we're interviewing in the upcoming week. And if you want to ask questions, that's where you get to do that, is on the app. So it's really cool. It's a great way to communicate and just to let us know what you think. Also, like, share, comment. You're gonna want to share Aaron's podcast. So definitely do that. It's so good. and so insightful, and definitely 5-star that sucker because it's a really good one. So Aaron deserves it. Such a great podcast, such a great story. Definitely like, share, and comment. That helps your stories get out there because, guys, they're amazing stories. They are so good. And again, I sat there and I was like, wow, I'm going to take that as my mantra. I literally told Aaron that. I was like, that's such a good mantra. Like, I'm going to take that. So good. So, and again, thank you to Mars Hill so much for always providing a safe place for us. Well, we did interview at Run and Try, which was such a cool experience to be in the store, looking around, and just to be in that element. It's always great to know that we have Mars Hill where we do all our other recordings, and that they believe in Run Your Story. They believe in your stories and how impactful they are to one another. And so truly grateful for that. And as always, Greg Gaillard from Gaillard Tech Services, he makes us all sound great. He also updates the website. He does such an extraordinary job making sure that everything's user-friendly and that you're happy with the podcast. So huge shout out to Gaillard Tech Service. You guys can find out more about him on social media and online. He can update that existing website, or he can create you a new one. And he's a busy, busy man. He loves what he does, and he loves being able to help you find your vision and get your message out there. Absolutely extraordinary with what he does. So thank you, Greg Gaillard and Gaillard Tech Services. You're amazing. Thank you to our listeners. You guys rock, and just absolutely love you. I love the feedback. I love being in the community with my people and people saying, oh man, that was such a great story, or man, like what a great mantra. It's so fun. And I appreciate that so much, because if it wasn't for you listening, we wouldn't have a reason to put out a podcast. So thank you so much for believing in this and believing in one another and being inspired by one another. It is so cool. And we just love it. We're just here and to share them. We're excited about upcoming stories that are being shared and the opportunities to partner together with people that we believe in. You guys are extraordinary, and we absolutely love this community so much. And I keep saying it over and over, we have the best running community ever, and it's truly something special. So thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts for believing in Run Your Story and listening to Run Your Story. Thank you to Run and Try for making February podcast possible, and for all you do with Dave and the blog, and for what you do for our community. You guys are absolutely incredible. And Aaron, man, your story is so cool. You're such a cool dude, DJ Freeze. And I feel like that should be something at an upcoming race. Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Aaron, so much. And guys, definitely go check out our friends at Run and Try. They're really cool people there. Until next time, guys, go lace up those running shoes and go run your story, because every story needs to be heard.